Good afternoon, Realm Walkers. I am Kirk Comet, the Realmwright of this podcast and the writer of the Dragon Harvest universe. This is my debut novel, Demon and Witch, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing how geography can help shape the plot of your story, improve it, and potentially make it worse. So let's get into it. To start, what do we mean by geography? Some of us know what it is, and some of us don't, so let's be clear. Geography just refers to the physical features of the world in many strokes. That can be mountains and rivers, that can be a block in a town, that can even be the map of a place inside a building. What I'm talking about here is the location, the setting, and how that can influence things, but I'm also talking about climate and weather, some things that are a little less material, like air and wind and clouds and how sunny it is. Those things can happen or can shape a story. We think about things like natural barriers. Is there a valley that people live in? Is it hard to go up certain ways? Is it easier to travel north and south than it is west and east? Are there neighboring kingdoms around you, but your geographical situation influences your ability to survive there? So you live at the top of the mountain and there's kingdoms all around the bottom. It's really important to stay friends with people. And yeah, just the proximity between cultures. A strategic geography can really help shape your world. And so let's think through some of the implications of your geography and why having, for example, a map at the start of your writing or a map that you fill out as you go could really be helpful to you as the storyteller and really engaging as the reader. To start, I just want to say that I think of books not only as the words within the pages, which certainly is the story, but also as the art around it. And I love seeing a piece of art that is beautiful all the way through. So not just a beautiful story, but a beautiful cover and a beautiful map within. I do think the map can really be a selling point for fantasy books. When I see a map in the front of the book, I start to think this person cared. It really just sells it for me. It gives me something that if I want to, I can follow along with. And I think the cliche example of people doing that is with Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earth. People follow, if you think about The Hobbit, all the way from Hobbiton to the Lonely Mountain, or if you think about the Lord of the Rings, from the Shire all the way to Mount Doom. And it's a really cool thing to get to do that, to trek things out, to get to look back at the map and see how Tolkien created this beautiful thing and the dragon flying over Erebor. It's just so beautiful. So I'll start with that, but I'll also say that geography really serves to drive plot. And if you don't know where this story is located, it's going to show. I made a living out of giving seminars to people, out of giving talks to people. And one of the things we talk about is that from the podium, if there's a mist in the audience, it's a fog. If you're unclear about something a little bit and you're trying to dance around it, they're going to be super unclear about it. So if you don't know if it's snowy or hot, it's going to show up. If you don't know if you're on a mountain or if you're a coastal city, it's going to show up. It's going to impact things. Let's use a case study really quickly from The Hobbit, the city of Lake Town. Think about how their geography has impacted them. For one, they live across from the Lonely Mountain, which means in their history they've interacted with the dwarves. They were a thriving community once. The dwarves are obviously kicked out. The mountain is abandoned, and their main source of economic prosperity is gone. Now there's a dragon that lives there because of so much gold, and they live in fear. They live on a lake. It makes sense that they have a lot of fishermen. It makes sense that that their world is set up the way that it is, such that there's docks and boats, and that houses are built on poles because they don't want to drown while they're sleeping. The geography has influenced the story. It's influenced the way that the dwarves have to interact with the Lake Town people. If there wasn't a lake there, there would be no Lake Town. There would be no interacting with the lake or the people there. In order to get to Erebor, they'd just go to Erebor. If the Erebor wasn't a mountain but was right next to the Shire, it'd be a much shorter book. But the geography impacts things. Trade routes can be points where tensions can develop and wars can break out, and rivers can be places where trading is stopped, where people can put up barricades and block cities and create starvation. If a war is going on, a snowstorm as a common occurrence for places can be a hindrance to them, and they have to develop methods that impact their cultures so that they can still operate in the middle of snowy places. If you're from the South, you're going to be well acquainted with this. Um, well, let me say it this way. Depending on whether you're from the South or the North in the United States, a lot of snow means very different things. And your ability to interact with a lot of snow means very different things. Some places will close down completely if snow falls from the sky at all, and some places are staying open even if there's a foot or two on the ground. Your culture is impacted by what they're used to seeing geographically. The culture is shaped by it. And so we see that not only in terms of mindset, in terms of the people's mindset, we see that in terms of architecture as well. I think about the colorful houses. This is not fantasy, but this is the colorful houses you'll see on the coastal side versus places where, like, I think of Rome. Let's use Rome. They've had access, this is part of their history, but they've had access to stones and built great stone things, whereas you see a lot more wooden architecture on the coastlines in the United States. They were using trees. They had trees. Let's do it. You think about food. If I'm by the beach, I'm eating fish. If I'm in the mountains, maybe I'm eating squirrel, deer, the occasional bear. I don't know if you can eat a bear safely or not. Let me know in the comments. Will that give me food poisoning? Will I die? I think it will impact metaphors. It doesn't make sense for someone to be making a bunch of metaphors about mountain goats if they've never heard of one, if they've never been near one, if their culture doesn't know a thing about mountain goats, if the internet doesn't exist. But if you live next to mountain goats, maybe you're making every metaphor about them. Maybe they're like a key feature. Maybe they're the headstone of your town, like they're the insignia of your town. The geography will impact those things. Got it. Geography is important. Thanks, Kirk. Give me something that can do to write with it. Well, as we talked about in previous episodes, I want to presume that you've seen every episode, but I also want to add to what we've said. And I want to say, like, start from a character's perspective. Let them explore the geography. Let them use the geography in reference to themselves as it relates to the story, and give your character a need that allows them to propel forward. So that's how stories tend to work. The character wants, the character needs something, they go out to find the solution to that want or that need. Maybe they find it, maybe they don't, but they're somehow changed, and it propels the story forward. In the case of your character, then how does the geography naturally influence the way that story unfolds? If your character wants to become the fastest runner there ever was, and again, maybe that's in a fantasy context, maybe it's not. I would like to read that story in a fantasy context. If they live in a mountainous area, it's going to impact how they have to train for running compared to if they live in a plains area. Make sure to up the stakes with the geography when you have the chance to. Don't be afraid for there to be a snowstorm. Let the volcano go off if it makes sense for the plot. Let the prairie fire start. Give your character the opportunity to really have to wrestle not just with man v man conflicts or man v self conflicts, but man v nature. It's a really classic, fun, core way to tell stories. And then I would encourage you, and this is something that I do in my own writing. Demon and Witch does have a map at the front of it, and really it's just a very finished, helpful rendering produced by Anchored Art Designs, by the way. Shout out to them for being just amazing artists, of a sketch of the map that I had been drawing on. So, okay, can you help me with this? I am not, unfortunately, as good of an illustrator as I am someone who textually illustrates. So they were able to help me with that, and it's a sweet thing. But if you have that map that you're building out as you're going, then when you get to the end, it's there. Maybe you're a good artist. Maybe you can do it on your own. There's plenty of resources online and plenty of artists online who are willing to help. Again, shout out to Anchored Art Designs if you like the map from Demon and Witch. I will say there is an area called the Darklands in my book, and I have not developed the geography of it as much as I should have. And as I'm working through the second novel, I am feeling the weight of that. I don't want people to be wandering. I want to know where they're getting to and why they're getting there. And so navigating that has been a struggle, and working to kind of backtrack with the information I have but didn't make a map for there. And then pouring that back into the second story so that we have continuity can be difficult at times. And so I just encourage you as you're writing to think through those things. Try not to make a world that has no variation and no beauty in it. Think through the geography a little bit. Let there be different kinds of geography, especially in fantasy stories. The character's journey involves very often leaving their location. Not always, but very often. And you can have a bunch of different environments that they have to wrestle with. So just to recap, the geography isn't just scenery, although scenery is good. It's for character development, it's for story development, it's for world development. The geography is going to impact all of these things, and it's so cool that as fantasy writers, the sky is the limit. We can have giant glowing mushrooms. We can have crystals that hang from trees. We can have really anything that we can dream up. So let me know, what are you dreaming up? What is the coolest fantasy landmarks that you have read about or seen in fantasy media? I'd love to hear that. Thanks so much for sitting with us. If you haven't, make sure you like and you subscribe. That is going to give you the opportunity to just keep plugged in with your fellow realm walkers, with me, as we continue to talk about fantasy writing, and of course the Dragon Harvest universe. More to come in the near future. Thanks so much. Bye.